What do you think about Mysterio? Honestly, I don't care what you think about him. Nah, I actually do. But seeing how Mysterio literally lies for a living, it felt right to trick you first. I'm going to convince you that Mysterio isn't a wasted character at all in the MCU. He is actually the most misunderstood. A lot of casual fans act like Mysterio was just a street-level threat dealing with a teenage superhero in Europe. I mean, not even New York. They reduced his character to a disgruntled former employee of Tony Stark. Let's look at the actual scale of what this absolute demon pulled off. Mysterio didn't only fight Spider-Man in this movie, he easily manipulated S.H.I.E.L.D. and completely fooled Nick Fury, or this fake version of him, I guess. Think about the overall narrative genius of his plan. Mysterio didn't just throw together some holograms and hope for the best. He planned and executed a psychological plan to the entire world's grief over their universal savior, Tony Stark. The planet was completely traumatized after Thanos and the events of Endgame. People were terrified, looking at an empty sky, wondering who was gonna protect them next. And what does Mysterio do? He creates a flawless, perfectly designed superhero product, specifically designed to exploit that collective trauma of the whole world. He fills the power vacuum left by Iron Man by becoming the savior the public was desperately begging for. When you look at it from this perspective, Mysterio is a brilliant meta-commentary on modern media manipulation. He represents how easily the masses can be swayed by a well-constructed narrative, deepfakes, and artificial PR campaigns. He didn't just manipulate Peter, he manipulated global politics using theater. Now let's compare him to the rest of the villains in the MCU. Look at Thanos, the ultimate big bad. Thanos achieved his goals through raw, cosmic brute strength, leveling planets and snapping his fingers with the army behind him. Then you even look at villains like Hela, Ultron, or Kang. Those characters are massive physical powerhouses or multiversal overlords who rely heavy on firepower, pure violence, or brute force to make a point. Meanwhile, fan favorites like Loki or the Vulture are rightfully beloved, but let's be real, they never tore down a hero like this. Mysterio completely shattered Peter Parker's reality from the inside out. He didn't need Infinity Stones, necromancy, vibranium bodies, or multiversal variants to do it. He didn't rely on alien tech or a magic scepter. The illusion sequences in Far From Home are some of the most visually stunning and entertaining scenes in the entire MCU.
And that's a fact.
It completely shifts the movie from a superhero film into a psychological horror film. Think about the imagery. Peter trapped in a maze of shifting mirrors, falling through bottomless voids, and ultimately coming face to face with the zombie version of Tony Stark crawling out of the damn grave. How would you respond to that? That fight alone proved that you do not need powers to defeat a hero. Mysterio attacked Peter's deepest insecurities, his current imposter syndrome, his crushing guilt over Tony's death, and his raw teenage trauma. In terms of psychological damage, a fist fight with Thanos leaves like physical bruises that can heal, but Mysterio's illusions leave mental scars that can control your whole entire future. Peter is only 16 years old in this movie. When you're a teenager, you feel things much more deeply and definitely make impulsive choices. Can you say you don't make those choices or didn't when you were a teenager? To understand why Mysterio is written so well in Far From Home, we have to take a quick trip back to his comic book origin story. Mysterio first appeared all the way back in 1964. God damn. In the original story, he's an old school Hollywood stuntman and uses special effects. He uses traditional fog machines, stage trickery, and springs built into his boots to jump incredibly high. He also uses manual chemical hallucinogens to frame Spider-Man as well. But let's be real.
Are you fucking for real? Let's be fucking real here, Nick.
That would not have flied in the MCU at all. By the time Far From Home came out, the MCU was already expanded to an insane level. Earth had literally witnessed aliens invading upstate New York, literal Norse gods walking among them, and nanotech armor. Like, you just simply could not introduce a guy who creates illusions with standard Hollywood smoke and mirrors and expect modern audiences to buy it. Tying his story directly to Stark Industries was really the only logical way they could bring him into the MCU. It took a classic comic book magic trick character and gave him high-tech lethal firepower while still being able to manipulate and create these illusions like in the original story. At the same time, he was also capable of a literal global threat. This brings us to the biggest difference that sets Mysterio completely apart from almost every other Marvel villain. Most MCU villains die, lose, or just disappear completely. Mysterio did die, but he still won. By executing the final plan, he completely ruined Peter's entire life. Think about the ripple effect of that one single video. The actions of that directly set off the catastrophic events of No Way Home and Brand New Day. Those are easily the most two heavily praised and glazed Spider-Man movies since Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. A key reason why people are so invested in No Way Home and Brand New Day in the first place is literally because of the foundation Mysterio laid down for these movies. Given the timeline of when these movies came out, a lot of you watching this right now weren't even alive when there was a better standalone movie than Spider-Man 2. Mysterio gave you the plot, the high stakes, and the intense emotional weight of those next two films. He was the mastermind behind the entire multiversal collapse because he forced Peter into a corner where he had to hit up Doctor Strange and completely fucked everything up.
Oh shit, here we go again.
His impact completely outlived his physical body. In some ways, he's even a catalyst for doom if you think about it deep enough. Mysterio sells the exact idea of what Peter Parker has to learn and get through in this movie perfectly. He's the ultimate push to Peter's character growth. To understand why this works so well, you have to look closely at Peter's age and mindset during the trilogy. In Far From Home, Peter's only 16. He's a literal child. If you look at the comic book history, an early teenage Spider-Man is traditionally written as an arrogant, reckless, and deeply selfish person. The MCU actually portrays this character trait pretty well across the Home trilogy. Think back to Homecoming. Peter's entire struggle was about learning independence. It was driven by a desperate and arrogant desire to skip steps and prove himself to Iron Man, ignoring the consequences of his actions. By the end of that film, he seems to pass that test by choosing to remain a friendly neighborhood hero. By the time Far From Home starts, that teenage selfishness kicks right back in. He just wants a minor break, and honestly, it's super understandable for a 16-year-old kid. His life has been absolute non-stop insanity ever since Tony Stark randomly dragged him into Germany to fight in a civil fucking war against the Avengers. He also died, came back 5 years later, lost his mentor, and is carrying the weight of the fucking world on his shoulders. He just wants to go on vacation, be a normal teenager, and hang out with his crush, bro. Watch how he handles his duties throughout the film. Peter's constantly trying to avoid responsibility. He actively dodges Nick Fury's phone calls, and he repeatedly tries to push hero duties onto anyone else who happens to be around, including Mysterio, just so he can go back to his school trip. The arrogant assumption that he can just hand off Tony Stark's EDITH glasses that are worth multi-billions of dollars just to wipe his hands of the pressure and the legacy, is peak teenage selfishness. When Peter finally realizes he was manipulated though, he finally stops running. He builds his own suit using Stark Tech, maps out his own strategy, and steps up to handle the massive mess he accidentally created here. Mysterio forces him to learn that when you are Spider-Man, you cannot take vacations at all, and you cannot hand off that burden to anyone else. Notice how that young selfishness isn't fully gone yet. It carries right over into the next movie. 17-year-old Peter now literally messes with reality, casting a spell with Doctor Strange. And he did all this just because his friends and him didn't get into MIT. He didn't even think about calling the admissions office and filing an appeal. That is selfishness 101. It isn't until the Canon event, the death of Aunt May, that this arrogant and selfish side of him is permanently broken. May's death is the ultimate catalyst that forces him to undergo change, later on erasing himself from the memory of everyone he loves to protect the universe. Mysterio wasn't just a villain, he was the initial spark. I don't know if I made any points to change your mind at all, I hope I did. Mysterio altered the entire trajectory of the MCU using nothing but projector drones, lies, and a fishbowl helmet. That is elite shit.